Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into something pretty significant in U.S. immigration. It's this new alien registration requirement. It actually kicked off on April 11th, 2025.
Exactly. And there's been a lot of chatter about it, so we've gone through the official government info, legal takes, news reports, the whole lot.
Right.
The goal here is really to break it down. Who needs to do this? How does it work? And, well, what happens if you don't?
Yeah, we want to make it clear, cut through the noise. We know you want the essentials without getting totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
We even look at some online discussions to see what questions keep popping up.
Good idea.
So let's get right into it. Where did this requirement actually come from? What's the origin?
Well, it really traces back to Executive Order 44159. The title is Protecting the American People Against Invasion. President Trump issued that back on January 20th, 2025. And that order basically told the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, to get stricter about enforcing registration laws that were, well, already on the books, specifically Section 262 of the Immigration and Nationality Act.
So hang on, this isn't like a brand new law being passed. It's more about dusting off and enforcing something already there.
That's a really key point, yes. It's about enforcement. The Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, she made it clear the administration sees enforcing all immigration laws as a priority for, national safety.
Yeah.
And the White House press secretary put it plainly. Foreign nationals here over 30 days have to register. Some reports framed it as bringing back a World War II-era law.
Interesting framing.
Yeah.
And legally, did this face any challenges right away?
Well, a U.S. district judge did rule that the administration could move forward with implementing this mandate, so it got the green light from the court, at least initially.
Okay, that sets the stage.
Oh.
Now, the crucial part.
Yeah.
Who exactly falls under this? Who needs to register now?
Right. So the main group we're talking about is non-U.S. citizens aged 14 or older, if they weren't already registered and fingerprinted when they applied for their visa.
Yep.
And this is important. They've been in the U.S. for 30 days or longer. They have to actually apply for this registration before that 30-day mark hits.
Before the 30 days are up. Got it. That's quite specific. What about kids? Anyone under 14?
Yes, there's a rule for them, too. Parents or legal guardians have to register any child under 14 who hasn't been registered and who stays in the U.S. for that 30-day period, again, before the 30 days expire.
Makes sense.
And there's another wrinkle. Any non-citizen, doesn't matter if they were registered before or not, who turns 14 while they're in the U.S.
Ah, okay.
They need to re-register and get fingerprinted within 30 days after their 14th birthday.
So it's not just about entry, but also hitting that age milestone here, okay?
All right.
Are there specific groups that, based on the guidance, are particularly likely to need this new process?
Yeah, the guidance points to a few key groups. First, non-citizens who are here without inspection and admission, or parole, basically. Those who might have crossed the border without authorization and haven't registered some other way.
Right.
Second, Canadian visitors. Specifically, those who came in through a land border, didn't get an I-94 or I-94W form, and then stay longer than 30 days. They likely need to register.
Okay, Canadians at land borders staying over 30 days without that form.
Exactly. And third, people who applied for certain benefits not listed in the usual registration regulations, think things like DACA or maybe TPS applications. If they weren't issued a registration document as part of that process, they'll probably need to use this new G325R form.
That helps clarify who's likely in.
Yeah, let's flip
That who's already considered registered. This
Yeah.
must be a big question for lots of people,
Yeah.
trying to figure out if they need to do anything at all.
It really is. And the good news is many people are already covered. Basically, if you've been issued official evidence of registration under the existing rules, like 8 CFR 264.1b, you're generally considered registered. Also, if you submitted certain immigration forms, like those listed in 8 CFR 264.1a, and you gave fingerprints, unless that was waived, you're typically counted as registered even if you didn't get a separate registration document listed in that other section, 264.1b.
Can you give us some concrete examples, like who specifically falls into that already registered bucket?
Sure. Most straightforward, lawful permanent residents, green card holders, they're already registered.
Okay, that's a big group.
Definitely. Also, anyone who is paroled into the U.S., even if their parole period has technically expired, they're still considered registered from that initial process.
Interesting. Even if expired.
Yes. And people admitted as non-immigrants who got an I-94, I-90 form, paper or electronic, even if the date on that form has passed, the act of being issued, it counts as registration.
So tourists, students, temporary workers with I-94s, they're likely covered.
Generally, yes, because they received that I-94 admission record. Also, anyone who got an immigrant or non-immigrant visa before their last arrival in the U.S. is usually considered registered.
Okay, keep going. What other categories?
Right. People who are currently in removal proceedings, the government has obviously registered them in the system. Also, anyone who holds a valid employment authorization document, an EAD, that's Form I-766.
The work permit. Got it.
Exactly. And if you've applied for a green card using forms like the I-485 or some older legalization forms like I-687, I-698, and you provided fingerprints for that application, you're registered, even if the application was eventually denied.
Even if denied. Wow, okay.
Yes, the act of applying and providing biometrics counts. Also, people with border crossing cards, those granted refugee status who received an I-590, and people who applied for TPS and got an EAD or some other registration document, they're all generally considered registered already.
That's quite a comprehensive list. It sounds like, for the most part, if you've gone through standard immigration channels and have the paperwork, you probably don't need to stress about this new requirement right now.
That's the general idea. But, immigration law is complex. If someone has any doubt about their specific situation, checking the details or maybe consulting someone is never a bad idea.
Always good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift to those who figure out they do need to register using this new system. What does that process actually look like? What are the steps?
Okay, so this new process uses Form G325R. It officially started on April 11th, 2025. The very first thing you need to do is create a USCIS online account.
Online account first.
Yes, at my.ucis.gov. And this is crucial. Every single person needing to register needs their own account, even kids under 14.
Really? So a parent sneaks it up for their child under 14?
Exactly. The parent or guardian handles it for the child, but the child needs their own distinct account.
And the form itself, the G325R, is that online too? No paper option?
Correct. It's all online. The form, which is called Biometric Information Registration, has to be filled out and submitted electronically through that individual USCIS account. You can't mail it in or drop it off anywhere.
Okay, digital only. What happens after you hit submit on that online form?
USCIS reviews it. They'll check the information you provided against their existing records. If they find you're actually already registered through some other means, they'll send you a notification through your online account saying, basically, you're good, already registered.
That's helpful. But what if they decide, no, this person does need to register via this new form? What's next?
If they determine registration is required through this new process, they'll look at the G325R and decide if biometrics, fingerprints, photo are needed.
Ah, the biometrics appointment.
Right. For anyone 14 or older, they'll typically schedule an appointment at a local application support center, an ASC. Now, they might waive this for some Canadians or for kids under 14, but generally, expect an appointment if you're 14 plus feet.
Is there a fee for this biometrics part?
Under the current rule, this interim final rule, no. There's no separate fee mentioned for the biometrics tied to this specific registration requirement.
Okay, no fee. What if someone gets scheduled for that appointment but doesn't show up? Any consequences?
Yes, definitely. Missing a required biometrics appointment can be seen as failing to complete the registration, and that could lead to the penalties we'll talk about later, so very important to attend if you're scheduled.
Right. Don't miss the appointment. So, assuming you go, or if biometrics are waived, and you complete the process, what proof do you get? How do you show you've registered?
Once it's all done, USCIS will post an official notice called the USCIS Proof of G325R Registration into your online account.
Ah, back to the online account.
Yes. You can then download that notice, print it out. That's your official proof.
So keep that safe, maybe have a digital and physical copy. Now, speaking of proof,
Yep.
Is there a requirement to actually carry this proof with you?
This is a really critical piece, yes. All non-U.S. citizens aged 18 and over who are required to register, whether through this new process or previously, must carry evidence of their registration with them at all times.
At all times, okay. What counts as valid proof to carry? Is it just that new notice?
No, it's broader than that. That proof of alien registration notice works, of course. But other standard immigration documents also count as proof of registration for carrying purposes.
Like what?
Things like your I-94 arrival departure record, your green card, Form I-551, your EAD work permit, Form I-766, a notice to appear, Form I-862 if you're in proceedings, or a border crossing card, I-185, I-186.
So if you have one of those already, like a green card or an EAD, and you're over 18, you need to carry that.
Correct. You need to carry some acceptable form of registration evidence if you're 18 or older and required to be registered.
Okay, that's a very important detail. Now let's talk consequences. What if someone just doesn't register when they're supposed to, or doesn't carry the proof, what are the penalties?
They can be quite serious. Willfully failing or refusing to register or to provide fingerprints if required is a misdemeanor.
Criminal offense.
Yes. It carries a potential fine up to $5,000 or imprisonment for up to 6 months, or potentially both. And importantly, the same penalties apply to parents or guardians who willfully fail to register a child under 14 who needs it.
Wow, okay, those are significant penalties for not registering. What about just not carrying the proof for those over 18?
That's also a misdemeanor, but slightly different penalties. Failing to carry your registration evidence can result in a fine up to $5,000 or imprisonment for up to 30 days, or both. And the law says that can be applied for each offense, meaning potentially every time you're caught without it.
For each offense. Yikes. And this ties into the existing address reporting requirement too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's a good reminder. All registered non-citizens are already required to report any change of address to USCIS within 10 days of moving.
And failing to do that.
Also a misdemeanor. Fine up to $5,000, jail up to 30 days, or both. But crucially, failing to report your address can also make you deportable unless you can show the failure was, excusable or wasn't willful. So keeping your address updated is vital.
So registration isn't just a one-time thing. It comes with ongoing obligations like carrying proof and updating your address. Very important. Are there any other sort of warnings or key things people need to understand about this?
Yes, a few really crucial points. First, everyone needs to understand this registration, this G325R process, it does not grant you any kind of immigration status.
Right. It's not a green card application or anything.
Exactly. It doesn't give you work authorization. It doesn't give you any benefits or rights. It's purely a registration requirement. Second, making false statements on that G325R form, that can lead to criminal penalties. Honesty is critical.
Standard practice for any government form, really. Now, what about the situation for people who might be undocumented? This seems like a particularly tricky area.
It absolutely is, and this is perhaps the most sensitive point. For individuals who entered without inspection or are otherwise not in a lawful status, attempting to register carries significant risks.
How so?
Well, by registering, you are essentially notifying the government of your presence and location. While the rule says certain people must register, doing so, if you're undocumented, could potentially lead directly to being placed in detention and facing removal proceedings.
So it's a real catch-22 for them.
It can be. That's why the device is extremely strong. If you are in the U.S. without authorization or have any complex immigration history, you should absolutely consult with a qualified immigration lawyer before you even think about submitting this registration form. They need to understand the potential consequences in their specific case.
That sounds like critical advice.
Yeah.
Get legal counsel first in those situations. What about people who are pretty sure they're already registered? Any final reminders for them?
Yes. Even if you're already registered, remember the carrying requirement. If you're 18 or older, make sure you have your green card, I-94, EAD, or whatever applies with you. And one more big warning. This registration through the official USCIS website, my.uscis.gov, is free.
No cost to file the G325R online.
Correct. Be extremely wary of scams. Don't pay anyone who claims they can help you with this registration for a fee, especially if they aren't authorized legal representatives. Stick to the official USCIS site.
Very important. Official site only, and it's free. Okay, last point of clarification, the deadlines. Can we just run through those one more time? When do people actually need to do this by?
Right. The deadlines depend on your situation. If you were already in the U.S. for 30 days or more as of April 11th, 2025, DHS says you need to register immediately on or after that date, basically right away.
Okay, immediately for those already here, 30-plus days by April 11th.
Yes. Now, if you enter the U.S. on or after April 11th, 2025, and you don't have registration evidence, like getting an I-94 at entry, you have 30 days from your arrival date to register.
Within 30 days for new arrivals without proof.
Correct. And finally, for children who turned 14 while in the U.S., they need to re-register within 30 days after their 14th birthday.
Within 30 days after turning 14. Got it. So different timelines, but generally points towards needing to act relatively quickly, depending on your circumstances.
Precisely. The key is figuring out which category you fall into and meeting that deadline.
Okay, I think that covers the main points. Let's try to quickly summarize. We have this new alien registration requirement, effective April 11th, 2025. It mainly affects certain non-U.S. citizens here for over 30 days who weren't previously registered, like through visa application or getting an I-94. The process is online via Form G325R on the USCIS website, might involve biometrics, and is free. Crucially, adults 18 plus required to register must carry proof at all times.
Right. And failure to register, carry proof, or report address changes carries penalties, fines, potentially jail time.
And we absolutely have to stress, check if you're already registered. Many people with green cards, EADs, I-94s likely are. And for anyone undocumented, please seek legal advice before registering due to the risks.
Couldn't agree more. The official source is always usicis.gov. Go there for the facts and the actual registration portal.
Definitely. So as we wrap up, maybe a final thought for our listeners. This whole requirement, it makes you consider what it means, fundamentally, to have to register your presence with the government, especially as a non-citizen.
Yeah, it touches on those big themes, doesn't it? National identity, security, individual rights, the obligations of visitors or residents. How does a society balance all of that? It's certainly something worth mulling over. What this kind of requirement signifies beyond just the administrative process, what questions does it raise for you?